Hello and welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew and today we're checking out the Remnant 2 on the 7800 XT. We're going to leave that at 1440p. We're going to go ahead and leave AMD's quality setting on there. We are testing fluid motion frames on this one. I believe that's what we are going for. Let me see. Performance. Actually, I want gaming. And then I want to see if that's enabled. So frame generation is active. So we're going to go ahead and test this on the 7800 XT. I did jump into the... I am utilizing the preview build now on this. So we're going to go ahead and check this out. I think that is good. We'll start with 1440p. We will create our character. We're going to go ahead and go with a man. Confirm that. Just do this, create a character, and then we'll see how well this baby holds up with the frame gen enabled. And then we'll do another run with frame generation disabled. But I want to see it when it first comes. Okay, so yeah, it should lock to 120. Very nice. And then we'll just run it with AMD's Fidelity or FSR on a second run. Just want to see how this card's gonna be able to run this fluid motion frames. I really like this for single player games. I think single player games with actually got to make sure that frame counter is actually being performed on here. Overlay. I think I think I need that right there.
That's 3.
I don't know. Sometimes I mess this up. So if you cannot see it, because I'm recording right now, I won't know until I'm done recording it. But right now we're about 120 frames a second. Normally these cutscenes play out at 60 frames a second. So we're just bouncing from 119 to 120 through most of this. It did go down to like 102 or something, so about 50 frames during the cutscene. Image quality looks very good, man. This is one of those games where I don't mind FSR at all. It actually looks very nice, and the performance gain that you get from it is actually worth having it enabled. Average frame time is 8.30 something milliseconds. Let's see, frame gen lag is 26 milliseconds. So not necessarily bad. GPU utilization is at 84%.
You ever hear about the North Pole?
Wow. So we're about 180, 172, 167. So we're well above 120 frames, pushing 170 to 180. Walking through this right here, and there's usually a pretty tough spot. So without frame gen, we're well over 60 frames a second, I believe. Because we're close to like 100. We're 200 frames right now. 200. I don't know if the thing. Well, now we're over 2. We're like 230. And it's stable. Look at this as I pan the camera. That is fairly stable looking as you pan the camera. Man, I love AMD's fluid motion frames. So I mean, you can see like a little bit of jutter when you turn the camera back there down that alleyway. Okay, so let's run down here. Boop, doop, 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 doop. Boop, do a flip. Yeah, so we're staying at right at up in the 80s, 180s. I hope you guys can see this. Gosh, this looks so good. Yeah, like when you get up here and you kind of turn the camera a little bit, you can kind of see like the little bit of shutter on the buildings and stuff. I mean, when you look at it. But if you move it fast, you're never going to notice that. And in a game like this, you're going to be moving the camera pretty fast. But like if you're just looking around and stuff, like nice and slow, yeah, you can kind of see the judder. But if you go like real slow, you don't see it. But about this fast right here, it's still not as bad. But about this speed right here is about when you can start to see the shuttering on the straight edges of the building and stuff, which isn't very, yeah, like I would, that kind of thing playing this game would not bug me at all. I really do kind of feel like people go out of their way to discredit like everything AMD does, but you know what, man? The visuals on this are significantly better than you've ever seen on a console. If you're coming from console gaming to this, to have this high of a frame rate and to feel this smooth while in action, like this is incredible. This absolutely feels better than, you know, the 60 frames a second that you're getting on, you know, the Xbox, or and way better than what you would be getting at 30 frames per second. It absolutely transforms your gaming experience and makes it way better. So we're running this on 7800 XT. We are utilizing the we have a 5900X in the CPU. It is at 1440p resolution. Let's go ahead and let's change that to, because I'm pretty sure we can go up to, let's try 1800. Let's just for the heck of it, let's try 4K. We'll go ahead and save this and see if that will work. Let's get back in there. So now we're about 100 frames a second, so that means we're getting about 50 frames. You can definitely see the instability a lot more at this lower frame rate. That's the thing, like it will kind of shudder a little bit. Still feels very fluid in motion. Look at your frame gen lag. Now we're at 29 milliseconds to 32. So at about 100 frames a second, that means you're getting right around 50 frames per second at 4K. So that is not that bad. I mean, it could be better, obviously. Some spots are going to be a little bit higher. Like if we run back over here to where she's standing looking at the sign, we should see an improvement in overall frames. We're up to 1.5, so right here, yeah, about 120. So easily over 60 frames a second right here. As you run through here, you're about almost 60 frames. So, all right, now is what we were going to do is we're going to go back to our 1440p. Obviously, you will be able to play this at, you know, higher resolution on this card. And then we're just going to turn off the fluid motion frames. So let's go ahead and save this back in here. We'll go ahead and keep those settings. We'll go ahead and get back into the game. We're climbing back up into the 200s. I'm going to get into the software really fast, go over to gaming, and I'm going to deselect fluid motion frames. And we're going to get back into the game, and yeah, we're about 90 to 100 frames a second now. So we run back through here. Yeah, so that's pretty much the experience you're going to get on a 7800 XT at a 1440p. If you lower the settings a little bit, I guarantee you could get a nice 4K experience out of this. We'll go ahead and see what our 4K is really fast. Options. I think probably a sweet spot for this would probably be like 1800p, but you can definitely go with a 4K experience. We'll get back in here so you can see what the frame rate was going to look like. And like I said, you're right around 50 to 60 frames a second with this mode at 4K on a 7800 XT with AMD's FSR at let's see, if you run right over here to this board, you get like 70, 78, 79, go up to about 79 frames a second right here, just standing in front of that wall. Turn them back around, it's going to take you down to the 50s, upper 50s. And that's with quality FSR, which actually looks, I mean, see, the funny thing is when people are degrading the AMD experience, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Because I've come from consoles like 2 years ago. I mean, like I've been a console gamer my whole life. So when I get on PC and I utilize AMD's FSR or any of these other tools that AMD has, and I'm looking at the image quality and I'm feeling the experience as compared to a console, I am blown away. And you have to understand that. Like, you have to understand that, like, I'm blown away because I've never seen anything like this. I've never been able to experience games in the way that I'm experiencing them now. Like, there was a brief window at the launch of the 9th gen consoles where we were getting 4K. We were getting 60 frames per second. We were getting 120 FPS experiences. But never did I once get the experience that I'm getting now. So now if I take this down to 1800p, I just want to see if that there is going to even out the frame rate and get us up to 60. Yeah, we're okay. So now we're in the 80s. So I think the 1800p is probably going to be your sweet spot for this one. You don't need 4K. You just hit it at 1800p, and you'll be able to have an above 60 FPS experience. So right here at 75, let's go ahead and re-engage the fluid motion frames at 1800p, and we will see our frame rate above 120 FPS. Now we are about 140, which is probably going to be your sweet spot. But if you want this high of a resolution, you are going to get judder in the background, because the higher the frame rate goes, like you can see that, like when you pan the camera, you can see everything in the back kind of wobble. The thing is like the higher the frame rate, the more stable and consistent AMD's fluid motion frames is. But when you're running in a straight line, absolutely perfect, no problems, whatever. Turning the camera fast pan camera, you're not going to notice that stuff. It's only when you slow it down to like look around is when you actually see the inconsistency of the straight line wobble, the whatchamacallit, the things that are in the background. That's when you can start to see the wobble, is depending on what your resolution is. But if we take this down to, let's go 1728p. Let's try 1728p with fluid motion frames, and let's see what our experience is like. See, it's about 30 frames higher, but you're still getting that judder with a slower pan of the camera. Might actually be a little bit worse, to be completely honest with you. So now let's try one more time. Let's go back to our original setting of 1440p before we close this video out. And we're going to keep it on the quality. I'm not interested in checking out native resolution, just because. So you still get a little bit of the wobble, but it's nowhere near as bad as it was with 1800p. So you can kind of get used to this, and it won't bug you once you get used to it. Like when you're playing this game, like it's fast paced, so you're not really looking at like, oh man, look at the wobble. And see, this is probably the sweet spot for this game. On a 1440p monitor, you can get well above 120 frames. You can get well up into the 200s, and it really does feel pretty good. And if you look at your frame gen lag, you're only 16 milliseconds, which isn't very high at all. Like, that's not that bad. I do 100% recommend using AMD's fluid motion frames with a controller, because if you try to use this with the mouse, actually this one's not too bad with the mouse, but it does kind of give you like a more of a judder. Like when you're panning the camera, you can kind of see that start stop, but when you pan it with the controller, not bad at all. Like, you can 100% get used to this, and you can easily be able to play this game in a more comfortable way using AMD's fluid motion frames. Like, I love this technology. I think it's absolutely incredible. Especially, for like your single player games and stuff. I've even tried it on Call of Duty, and it actually freaking works not very bad. Like, it's very good, because Call of Duty already starts off from a very high frame rate. So you're automatically keeping that frame rate and that feeling. Like, your game's going to feel like that when you're playing it. But once you get, and if you're playing with a controller, it's actually very, very nice. So I don't really mind that. I play some of the racing games with fluid motion frames. It actually smooths out the overall image fairly nicely. So when you're getting into these types of experiences, the overall visual quality and the way the game feels is pretty nice. So let's come up here and let's jump in this building before I close out this video. I want you guys to, kind of see like an enclosed area, see how far we're getting up into, 260 freaking frames a second. So the smaller the area, you'll be able to utilize that and get even a higher frame rate, which is pretty good. And it really does feel like you're getting a much higher frame rate. The experience feels very, very smooth. So, all right, my friends, if you guys like this content, do not forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.